In 2004, Nintendo released the Nintendo DS, and with it saw the rise in girl gamers, with women making up 44% of the console sales. By 2007, Ubisoft realized the potential revenue of this new market and created the Imagine series. Similar to Barbie's You Can Be Anything era, with the Imagine series you could be a vet, a figure skater, or a soccer captain. However, whilst all these dolls are distinctly Barbie, in cute, unique outfits, with Imagine games, it was a 50-50 chance if you'd be playing as a fashionista like Barbie, or a fucked cousin Sally. Growing up, I had the following Imagine games: Imagine Pet Vet, Imagine Teacher, Imagine Figure Skater, My Secret World by Imagine, Imagine Fashion Designer New York, Imagine Interior Designer, Imagine Wedding Designer, Imagine Movie Star, Imagine Makeup Artist, and Imagine Boutique Owner. And you're probably thinking, oh, so you had basically all of them? And you of course would be wrong. All up, Ubisoft published 52 games, enough to make a full deck of cards. Now, whilst I don't have the patience to review the complete Imagine Games catalogue, I would like to take a look at some of my childhood favourites, starting off with Imagine Pet Vet. Whilst looking for dev diaries on this game, I found an IGN article from 2007 from quite possibly the most dejected journalist I've ever seen. He opens his review stating, "The plague of pet disease continues here on the DS, which has become the home of several pet care/veterinarian games over the course of the past year or so." And as melancholy as he is, he does have a point. After the success of Nintendogs in 2005, the DS market was flooded with pet games, from the Pet series, Horse Life 1 through 4, to my personal favourite, De Chats de Deflin. It was impossible to escape this genre of games. However, I wouldn't exactly call it a plague. I personally enjoyed this genre of games as a kid, so maybe Lucas M. Thomas just needs to lighten up a little. Well, at least he was able to eventually go on to write much better things, such as the best Baby Groot merch you can buy. Unsurprisingly, this was one of the only articles I could find about this game. In fact, one of the only sources cited on the Nintendo wiki for this game was the game's page on Game FAQs. You know you're in for a good game when the top question on Game FAQs is, "How do I get meds to treat my animals? They are dying?" ? Fun fact about me is I always wanted to be a vet when I was a kid, so it's no surprise that I was obsessed with this game. I think it was my veterinary aspirations that really drew me to this game, because it certainly wasn't the gameplay, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Imagine Pet Vet, or Animal Doctor as it's called in the US regions, you play as, you guessed it, a vet on your grandpa's farm. He helps you build your first pen, and you look at your first patient. In order to diagnose animals, you must complete minigames, and let me tell you, these are rough. Some are simple enough: tap a button to weigh an animal, circle selected areas to get x-rays, and lead an endoscope through an animal's stomach. You were given a short description for every minigame, but it doesn't really give you much to go off. The timer goes so fast, the touch controls are so sensitive, and why won't this fucking cat stay still for its temperature? I eventually got the hang of most of the minigames, but the initial learning curve is quite sharp. Despite the frustration, I was able to diagnose this cat with arthritis. Jesus Christ. So, if the minigames weren't frustrating enough, the game gives you even less insight on how to heal the animals. When you enter a pen, there are stats at the top of the screen representing the state of it, the food and water levels, and how clean it is. I'll explain cleaning the pen shortly. When you click on an animal, it'll show you their individual stats: hunger, thirst, how much they've been pet, and overall health. Finally, there is a bar above the animal that indicates their overall health. Once this bar is green and full, you can return the animal to its owner. Sounds simple enough. Now, this space next to the health bar? I don't know what that is. Sometimes it aligns with the health bar, but often I'll see it smiling ear to ear whilst the health bar is super low and red, or completely disinterested when the animal is almost healed. And as complicated as all that was, healing the animals is really just petting them endlessly, topping up their food and water every so often, and making sure the pen is kept clean. To clean the pen, you have to talk to your cousin Eric, who hangs out at this seating area on the farm. During my playthrough, I kept on internally referring to him as Terrence before realizing that this said terrace and it was referring to the location. So, anytime you need the pens cleaned, you go to the terrace and talk to Eric. Every time. Oh, wow, Eric, you love animals and helping out? Well, why don't you take some initiative and clean the pens without me having to ask you every 5 fucking minutes? This will be important later. But that's basically it when it comes to game mechanics. And this is the main critique I have seen with this game and a lot of the other games in the Imagine series. It's just the same game cycle over and over again. The only changes being the mini games you play and what random condition the animal has. It's like a wheel of misfortune. Ah, damn, you just missed out of the 1 mil. Your cat has kidney stones. But, whilst I find this style of gameplay quite tedious, maybe channel co-host Ryan will find it endearing. That's right, like I promised on his V-Valley video, I forced Ryan to play this game to see what he thought.
It fucking sucks. Is it fun? What the fuck? Examine the animal and draw circles on the x-rays. Alright. Good thing. Dude, its legs are destroyed. It was jumping up and down, and its hind legs are shattered. It's got bronchitis. His legs were shattered. He doesn't have bronchitis. Editor, show his shattered legs. Zoom in on that. Look at that.
And, oh, this one can be healed. So that's fully green, so that can be healed.
Right. No worries. Oh, I won $2,000? That doesn't seem like the right language. How do I do this better? I don't understand how I could have done this better.
Okay, maybe I'll do it. So it's more like, you more just hold it in that area. You don't need to vigorously shake it everywhere.
But they were going somewhere else each time.
Yeah. You just need to calm down.
I don't want to... I feel like we're scamming these people. Dude, this isn't a regular heart rate. I would be a little worried.
It's a rabbit. Rabbits, remember that episode of the Looney Tunes show where Bugs is like worried about his heart rate, and then like at the end of the doctor's like, oh yeah, I forgot you're a rabbit.
No. He's green. He's got a green head. Does that mean he feels better?
I have no clue. Alright, well, why don't you give us your final thoughts?
Final thoughts are that I regret this whole idea of a channel. 10 minutes of my life I'm not getting back.
Yeah.
I would say that it is so clearly shovelware to a horrific degree. And I think that the easiest way to tell how bad shovelware is music. Yeah. Because none of the music fits and none of the music transitions in any meaningful way. Like between itself, it just cuts off, it barely fades in and out. Yeah. Gameplay wise, I could see how tedious those mini games would get. And even if it's a different animal, is it just the same mini game, the same format?
Basically, yeah. There's not really much different between the animals.
I can see how an 8-year-old would just get addicted to that.
Yeah.
But for going back and replaying it, I don't think you're missing out on much by stopping the gameplay at this point. Oh dear.
Has this been a bad introduction to the Imagine series? Because I want you to play the rest of them. Not all 52, but some of the rest of them. I promise I'll bring forward a much more enjoyable one.
I can't imagine a worse introduction. Just for this, I'm going to make you play something terrible very soon.
Oh no.
Yeah, bad game.
Wow, Ryan. Couldn't have said it better myself. And again, if you want to see more of Ryan, be sure to check out his V-Rally video. As you heal more animals, you progress in the game by buying new pens, thus unlocking new animals and upgrades for pre-existing pens, which, it's never really made clear what this does. As far as I can tell, it doesn't exactly increase the capacity of the pens or anything. I'm not even sure if it does much cosmetically. Speaking of cosmetics, one very specific gripe I have with this game is the UI. Throughout the game, you buy toys and foods for the animals to help heal them. Since the order of unlocking animals is cats, dogs, rabbits, horses, pigs, you would think that the shop menu would look like this. But no! For some reason, rabbits are first, even though you don't unlock them until halfway into the game. So I have to make a conscious effort not to accidentally buy rabbit food instead of cat food. Also, another thing about the food itself. You were never really given an indication of how much food you have left. The only place you see food quantities is in the shop. So unless you are manually keeping track, you will continuously run out without warning. The currency in this game is just weird in general, so you can of course use money on the animals, buying new pens, upgrading, and buying general pet supplies. But you can also spend your money on decorating your waiting room, veterinary office, and house, which in theory sounds like a great idea. Who doesn't love interior design? Imagine made a whole nother game about it. The only problem is you barely ever spend any time in these areas. In my own playthrough, I think it took me a few hours before I even remembered this existed. Also, the items in this section are so fucking expensive. I'm sorry, Mr. Horsey, I can't pay for your food. I just spent 14 grand on a hi-fi system. Whilst the gameplay remains the same throughout, the difficulty does increase as you progress, solely due to the fact that the amount of animals you have to manage becomes very overwhelming very quickly. It is so difficult to multitask when you'll spend so much time healing one animal, you'll lose any progress you made with another. The only way to really succeed in this game is to madly dash from pen to pen, trying to keep on top of all of the animals. The stress levels of this I could only compare to the fifth night on a FNAF game, or perhaps being an actual vet. However, I sincerely hope that actual vets don't get text messages during their shift from their grandmother telling them they need to do a better job. Because that's what happens in Imagine Pet Vet. Periodically, you'll get messages from your cell saying things like, make sure you're taking care of the animals, or the pens haven't been cleaned in a while. Hey grandma, how about instead of standing in the kitchen looking out your window, you go out to the terrace and tell your grandson to show some initiative and clean the pens without having to be told by your overworked fucking cousin. Try as I might, I couldn't bring myself to grind through this game until the end. I wanted to at least make it to rabbits to see if it would change things up, as there isn't really much difference between cats and dogs, but surely there would be with rabbits. The answer is no. For anyone out there who's disappointed that they didn't get to see any horses or pigs, maybe these pixelated JPEGs will make you feel better. My final thoughts on this game is, whilst I'm not surprised how bad this game is, I'm still quite disappointed. There are a few menu items that I didn't even touch on in this video, mostly due to the fact that they're inconsequential to the rest of the game. There's a stats page that tracks how much money you earn and spend in your overall popularity, which is super interesting, but there's no real incentive to keep track of these stats other than curiosity. It's not like there's any mission for you to make sure you're ranking up your popularity. It's things like this that make you question if this game came out before the developers had a chance to truly flesh it out. And when you think about how this is a Ubisoft game and a part of a Shovel-Ware series capitalizing on young girls relatively new to the gaming market, the question kind of answers itself. Like I said earlier, I actually really liked this game as a kid. So to give little me some slack and not absolutely obliterate her taste in games, I'll end this video on a positive note. Imagine Pet Vet is a bit of a mess of a game. However, it and other titles within the Imagine series are what got me and many of my other femme friends into gaming. It felt nice to have games that were catered towards us, even if they weren't the best of quality. That being said, there are many more Imagine titles to cover, so who knows? Maybe we'll eventually find the diamond in the rough, but you'll have to wait for my next video to find out. So until next time, bye! Thank you so much for joining us for another video on the Nostalgia Bait channel. Thanks again to Ryan for jumping in to give your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and hit that subscribe button for more Shovel-Ware shenanigans. Also, if you ever played Imagine Pet Vet or any of the other games in the Imagine series, drop a comment down below. Ryan and I love reading and responding to all of your comments, so I hope to see you there, and stay tuned for more videos in the works.